Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm Arwynne O'Neill, your host, and today I am here with my friend Katia.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Arwynne.
Yeah, anytime. And this time we're going to be talking about a transit that is coming up. This is a bit of a minor transit. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's a fast transit, but it's never minor when Pluto conjuncts one of the personal planets, and it doesn't get much more personal than the Sun. On the 20th of January, the Sun is going to be conjunct Pluto at 29 degrees Capricorn, and that's the final degree of Capricorn. So the very next day, both the Sun and Pluto are going to be moving into Aquarius. This happens about once a year that the Sun conjuncts Pluto, because obviously the Sun reaches its same position once a year. Next January comes around in 2025, these planets are going to be conjunct in Aquarius, because by then Pluto will have finally moved into Aquarius, where it's going to stay for the next 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's commitment.
Right? Exactly. And it's going to retrograde a bit in the fall back into Capricorn. This is the first big dip of the second, actually. It went in for a couple of months in 2023 with the retrograde phases. This is the second big one, and then in November it'll be going in forever for the foreseeable future. Anyway, right now we are going to be talking about what it looks like from the person, anyone, what it might look like as a transit, and then we're going to look at what it looks like in your natal chart when you have Pluto conjunct your Sun, and then we'll have some celebrity examples at the end.
Excellent.
So as I've said before, when Pluto connects with a personal planet, we can really expect to feel its effects. It won't be very long lasting because the Sun moves pretty quickly, but for about a day or so, you'll definitely be able to notice this energy. And of course, if you have your Sun in Capricorn natally, you will definitely have experienced a Pluto conjunction over your Sun, depending on what degree you have it. And if you have your Sun at 29 degrees Capricorn, then, happy birthday is coming up. But at the same time, you will have this exact aspect on January 20th. So we can see that this will definitely affect you in a big way. So the Sun conjunct Pluto in transit can dramatically increase your desire for power and your ability to influence outcomes in your life, because Pluto is all about power. It's about transformation. It's about death and rebirth, and it's about money. And all these things can come together to create power struggles. It can make you feel the need to manipulate other people or to sort of go after power in your own life, which of course can be used for good, because, sometimes we need to grasp the reins and take control. And this is a great time to do that.
Yeah, well, this intense ambition, I think, is what we all have at the beginning of the new year.
Right.
With resolutions. That's a very common word right now. So this is actually really good timing. But as you said, there is a double-edged sword in a way.
Well, with Pluto, there always is. There's always that double-edged sword with Pluto, because you can go a little too far, and you not only want to manipulate other people, but you can begin to feel sort of paranoid, like other people are plotting against you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you can really see this in some of the celebrity examples as well, which is interesting. That's probably not how most people will experience the transit. But if you do begin to feel like, why is everyone out to get me? Like, why are the, fates stacked against me? Why is the IRS calling me? Or like maybe you feel like your bosses are conspiring against you, or you're being held down somehow by, the powers that be. That is not going to be an unusual way of feeling. It's totally normal. And some dramatic or upsetting events may occur at this time, especially involving power struggles or reversals of fortune. We may see in the media hidden secrets coming to light, or power abuses being exposed, which is interesting. We're having all of this sort of Billionaire Island Epstein stuff coming out, which is great timing. Yeah, so stuff like that. But also, in your personal life, you may find that you're more prone to want to investigate abuses of power, or investigate what's really going on, because Pluto is really good with giving you sort of an obsessive quality, and sometimes obsession can be great.
Yeah.
So another good way of using this investigative, obsessive energy in your own life might be as simple as decluttering.
I like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Getting rid of anything that's no longer serving you, that's in your way, that's sort of preventing you from being able to achieve your goals. And this could be anywhere from cleaning out the closet to getting out from under, a contract or a relationship that's no longer serving you, where you're being held down and you don't feel like you can actually express your power, or, anything that's holding you back that you've outgrown in your life.
Yeah, sounds pretty transformative in that, like, you can tear down old habits, rebuild new ones, and use this momentum of this extra ambition that we suddenly have, whether we like it or not, for good, hopefully.
Yeah.
But of course, that could be a little bit uncomfortable in some cases, especially if you're exploring new territories.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it could be a really good thing.
Yeah, definitely. It could be a very good thing. And you'll have access to extra reserves of power at this time, whether that's additional willpower, which we all sort of tend to think about in January, the will to refuse things that are not good for you, or the will to grab the reins and to take more power for yourself. So those are two definitely positive ways that we could see this playing out.
Yeah. Sounds like there's quite a bit of, I guess whenever we think of ambition, we always think of work.
Yeah.
But I guess ambition could also be a bit of a looking at your own identity and what kind of image do you want to represent? How do you want to appear in the public? And I was actually thinking about this earlier today about how I'm meeting somebody new for the first time. We've never met. We don't know anything about each other. But this is like, how do I want to show up? Like, what kind of energy do I want to present to this person? Because this is going to be like this first reaction. Yeah. And I guess I'm being governed by this new energy that's around right now.
Yeah, you can choose how much power to project or how much you can really set the levels of power dynamics in a new relationship at this time by being very conscious about it.
Yeah. Is this a good time or like a turbulent time? I don't know how to even phrase that. So like, obviously, when you meet somebody new, you can decide however you want to show up. Yeah. And it's like, what kind of personality do you want to project? Well, you're consistent with that. Right. And it's a very intentional thing. But in current relationships, whether at work or at home or in the social circle, is it like risky to start shaking things up and being different and be like, I've decided I'm going to be less negative now?
I mean, it's always a good thing to decide to be less negative. I guess the only thing is really being aware of, as you said, consistency. Yeah. Like if you're going to start off at like a really high level of like, okay, I'm a really take charge person. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be the boss in this relationship, or the one who comes with all the ideas. You want to really make sure that you can have that momentum consistent, so that you're not just coming up with everything all at once, laying it all on the table, and then being like, okay, my work is done. And then they're like, where's the, ambitious, like goal oriented take charge person that I met? Because you have no ideas anymore, and it's been a couple of months, and now I feel like I'm happy to pick up all the slack. So if you feel like that's your best way to put your foot forward, you just want to make sure that you can actually maintain that, because you don't want to be overpromising and then under-delivering later on.
Yeah, so baby steps, not long strides.
Yeah, and
all at once.
It's interesting because I mean I've made no secret of the fact that I've been looking for contract work and on and off all for the last year, and it's a really interesting thing with how you want to put yourself forward in an interview, or even what kind of jobs you want to apply for. There's any number of levels that you can, not entry level clearly, but like, do you want to go in for something where you're going to be expected to be managing people or coming up with strategies or being super proactive? Or do you want to focus on, here are my skills, I'm really great at doing this and that, I like to be left alone, what I mean? Yeah. Or, how much of a team player are you really prepared to be? Yeah. And this is something that's really, I think, come up for a lot of people post-COVID, because, I personally have worked from home since like 2010. So it wasn't much of a transition, but for a lot of people, it was a huge transition of suddenly not having that workplace energy sort of to rev you up and to keep you engaged. And a lot of people had a lot of adjustment to, working by themselves and being their own motivation. And now, like, a lot of people are being asked to come back into the office, even like 2 days a week or 3 days a week, kind of putting their face in the public light again. And maybe a lot of people are finding that their energy levels are not naturally the way that they're expected to be at the office. It doesn't mean that we're slacking off at home, but it just means you can set your own energy level, and maybe you're not putting all of your energy as an introvert, for example, like myself, into being socially acceptable all the time. Getting a full face of makeup and having a wardrobe that's wearing something new and different every day at work. And that does take a lot of energy. I probably not to be sexist, but maybe more for women than men, to have that appearance be something that you have as a shell on at all times. And that creates a certain amount of cognitive expenditure, to be kind of like in full face all the time. Like like they say on Drag Race or whatever. I don't know. But I mean, that takes a certain amount of energy. So if you're at home and you're not having to worry about, do I look perfect at all times? Am I socially being friendly at all times? Am I smiling at all times?
Yeah.
Maybe you have more energy to focus on work. And,
that's true.
And for other people who are extroverts, like that is actually energy that's feeding into you. Oh. And maybe you don't feel that when you're at home by yourself, and you need that energy input.
Yeah.
I don't relate to that, but a lot of people are.
I do relate to that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of reminded me a little bit of that, those news anchors where there's a man and a woman.
Yeah.
And they're very traditionally man and woman.
The round hair and the square hair.
Nothing moves. There are definitely no flyaways.
Yeah.
Even when with a gust of wind.
Yeah.
But he wore the same suit every day for however long.
Yeah.
She was criticized for not having a varied enough wardrobe, even though she wore something different every time.
Oh, yeah.
And that was his stance. Like his point was like, you didn't notice that I was wearing the same thing this whole time?
That's hilarious.
But anyway, as an OG worker from home, like for over a decade, You've seen the ebb and flow in how people were suddenly told to work remotely, and now they're suddenly being called back to their offices and whatnot. Have you noticed a shift in all the people that you've been interviewing with? Like, are they different?
Yeah. And that's one of the most interesting things too. I think there's in one aspect as well, it's that I previously worked for an American company, and there's a bit of a different dynamic, even though that was remote the whole time. Yeah. There's a bit of a different expectation of levels of like privacy and what you'll say to people and how long you have to get to know them before they'll talk about like going out and partying on the weekend they'll talk about their kids in a less than perfectly glowing light or, just anything that's more personal. There's a bit more of a barrier to entry there. And I find with working with a Canadian company, maybe it's a little bit quicker that you get into that level of, did you get to sleep in on the weekend, or did you go out and drink on New Year's Eve or whatever?
Is it because we're nice as Canadians?
Yeah, maybe.
That's our trope.
It might be, yeah. But I have definitely noticed a difference in like the level of casual, like even a company that you would think would be very sort of structured, like a bank, for example, just the people's outfits that are, on the Zoom call or whatever, I've noticed much more casual. And of course, just, there's more like tattoos and pink hair and stuff like that that's totally acceptable, even in a banking environment, or I don't know, I haven't applied at any law firms because I just don't have those. I don't think I have those skills, but who knows, maybe with Pluto conjunct the sun, maybe
I was just going to say, isn't this a good time to collect those skills and open up your horizons if that's what you want? But yeah, I heard, at least from the outside looking in, it seems like the lawyer or the law field is a lot less casual.
Yeah, it's the last bastion of the super dressed up every day.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of The Good Wife or The Good Fight, where basically they're wearing like, full evening wear and like helmet hair like every day. I don't know how real that is, but we live in hope that that's what.
Well, as somebody who likes to express herself with how I dress and how I change my look on a daily basis, I like that.
Yeah.
But as someone else who might not enjoy that as much, or feels like that's overwhelming and it's distracting from the work itself, that could be a time waste, right? And you're better off with a uniform or your pajamas.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely love to express myself in attire and hair and all that stuff, but just the expectation of it being like a uniform, as it has to be a certain level of formality, and you have to be kind of on and smiling, and everyone who passes you by in the office and you're saying hi and all that stuff. Yeah, it's nice, but at the same time, like if I actually have work to do, I want to focus on work and not be like pulled into meetings where I'm like one of 12 people just sitting there listening to everybody give an update.
I was like, can you just give me the too long didn't read version?
Right. What do I need to do? What do you need from me? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so back to the Pluto conjunct the sun in someone's chart. This is super interesting. because these people, as you might expect with knowing what's like in transit, these people can be profoundly intense. They can wield great power and influence, but they can also become subject to powerful forces from outside themselves, which can either destroy them or make them stronger. And we'll really see that in some of our historical and celebrity examples. These people can be incredibly ambitious and with a great deal of willpower. And they can have a probing, piercing nature that often comes across as overbearing. They can read people really well, which is great, and get to the bottom of matters because they're excellent researchers and they have very political minds. They're naturally attuned to the power dynamics out there in the universe. And this, of course, is something that they'll gain more as they get older. So you can see the younger people on this list sometimes have been sort of bowled over by, more powerful people in a really tragic way. And as they get older, they become more effective leaders, or maybe not effective, but powerful and certainly able to wield control in a way that that we kind of look at and go, oh, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
They can also really value their privacy a lot and come across as sometimes mysterious or even paranoid. They can become embroiled in decadent, self-destructive behaviors, attracting ruthless and manipulative people, or becoming manipulative and power-hungry and attracted to sort of the dark side. This can include attraction to the criminal element or becoming addicted to things and different situations. Politics is really an addiction to power. And we do see that these people are attracted to, either being leaders in their field or sometimes they can actually become tyrannical.
Yes.
That's the word I'm looking for. But they can also become great investigators and revolutionary instigators who go up against the powers that be and bring about change from below. And with their investigative and obsessive nature, they can bring about change.
So it seems like there can be a lot of good, a lot of benefits, a lot of pros to all of this, but there's this like slippery slope of potentially going to the dark side. And I don't know why it's so delicious to give into something darker. Right. But perhaps this is a good time to focus on honing in on your skills or gathering new ones and trying to figure out what kind of image or leadership style that you want to employ, but maybe book a few extra like therapy sessions just to have somebody unbiased call you out on something.
For sure. And it's really interesting that this is happening in the last degree of Capricorn, because Capricorn is the sign of the ruler, of the patriarchy, of the institutions. And I'm thinking of in Monopoly, it's the guy with the mustache on the, with the top hat. Like that's like the symbol of Capricorn to me. Yeah. And so that this is happening.
You see capitalists.
Exactly. Capitalists for sure. But in the last degree of Capricorn, we're going to be moving into Aquarius the very next day, which is much more egalitarian, community oriented, futuristic, humanitarian, and also representing technology sort of sign. So the promise of equality and egalitarian openness that is really going to be what we're moving into right after this conjunction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty pivotal part of our year.
Yeah, it's just really interesting that this happens right on the cusp of the Sun and Pluto both moving into Aquarius.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So let's talk about who has this in their chart that we might know.
Oh,
these names are big names.
Okay.
So the first one is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Cool.
Right?
Yes. Okay.
Wielding power for good or evil.
Oh my gosh, the epitome.
Right. Martha Stewart.
Oh.
So building empires.
Wow.
Yeah, not always
she looks
doing
fabulous.
it.
Have you seen her recently?
What the hell?
And I don't know if I'll ever see her and Snoop Dogg and not smile.
No, I can't. No.
Oh my gosh.
It's just too perfect. It's too perfect. Yeah. Steve Wozniak.
Okay.
Yeah. So definitely that the power for good
makes
thing.
Sense.
Amazing. Yeah. Mick Jagger.
Nice.
Yeah. Emmett Till and Alan Turing. And these are two of the sort of really tragic faces of this aspect. Emmett Till was the young African-American boy who was murdered in the 50s. Terrible lynching that happened in the South. But his mother, when she found out, refused to let them do a closed casket. And his picture was on the front page of the newspaper, and it went the 50s version of viral, and it's really chills. Exactly. It's a horrible story.
Yeah.
But the reason we still know his name to this day was because she was so brave and said, no, we're not covering this up.
Wow.
They need to know what happened. And the entire world saw this and was outraged. And this really was one of the sparks that began the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
Was the fact that this could happen in modern day, civilized world. And
that's atrocious.
Absolutely atrocious. But going up against the power structures and really bringing about change in a transformative and revolutionary way, which doesn't always benefit the person, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, we still remember his name because of that. And Alan Turing, of course, was the young man who was one of the code breakers and like a genius code breaker in the 40s, like during the war.
Is that the Turing test?
The Turing test.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So he's a fascinating character in history. And he was just pardoned actually by the British government like maybe 10 years ago. For recent, exactly. He was, shamed for being gay, for being, for coming out in 50s, and he ended up committing suicide. But he hugely contributed to the winning of the war by the Allies and the breaking of the Enigma code, which was the Germans' code in the submarines and all that stuff. Wonderful movie. It was a decent movie actually with Benedict Cumberbatch. I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, he portrayed him. Okay. It's a great story. It probably deserved a bit of a better movie. But yeah, I mean, talking about going up against the forces of power.
Okay.
Let's see. Going on, Hunter S. Thompson, who is obviously known for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and all of the psychedelic stuff. But his very first book that brought him to prominence was going in and investigating the Hells Angels. And he got in huge trouble from by telling a little bit too honestly what their community and culture was like, and he was
no one likes to hear that.
utterly fearless, yeah. And then following on the campaign trails of Nixon and some of the other presidential hopefuls in the 70s, and just absolutely fearless about bringing his style of journalism to all the dark corners of culture and the world that needed to be exposed.
Okay.
Hulk Hogan, which is an interesting one.
Is that?
Make of that what you will.
Yeah. Okay, it's a good visual.
Yeah, exactly. Lance Armstrong.
Okay.
Victor Hugo, the playwright. Charlie Sheen, which is interesting.
Yeah.
# winning.
Yeah. By winning.
Yeah, right. Tim Burton.
Okay.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Jada Pinkett Smith and Emperor Nero.
Ooh. Who's that?
The one who supposedly fiddled while Rome burned. The corrupt emperor.
So not Rome. The waffle place in downtown Vancouver.
No, but thanks. Now I want waffles.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that is the Sun conjunct Pluto.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds intense, but ambitious and persistent.
Yeah.
That suddenly ends and turns lovely on the 21st of January in 2024.
Exactly. Right? It's all lovely from there.
Wow.
It's all technology will save us after that.
Okay. So resist turning to the dark side.
Yes.
And follow your ambitions. Focus on yourself.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Lead by example. Lead,
Yeah.
Yeah. Take the reins. Be ambitious, but not tyrannical. And and if you are experiencing this transit to your own sun in Capricorn, the light is at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you've come out of this transit more powerful and been able to really harness it for good. And we can all look forward to all of these wonderful things that Pluto in Aquarius is going to bring on the horizon in the future.
Excellent. Well, Happy New Year to us.
Yeah, Happy New Year to all of us. Thanks for joining me, Katia. This has been great.
Thank you so much. This has been so fun.
And thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer or someone who's learning astrology or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.